the Buffalo Bills.
Yep, we'll stick with wide receiver here too. Is Keon Coleman ready for what is expected to be a massive target share? I mean, Stephon Diggs gone, Gabe Davis gone. You say, okay, Dalton Kincaid can come in and have an uptick in targets, but the dude had 90 plus targets last year. You can only adopt so much if you're Dalton Kincaid. So to me, you're resting a lot on Keon Coleman to come out of the gate with a heavy workload, probably have the number one corner on you on most weeks. Is he ready to adopt that from Josh Allen? And if he's not, I think Buffalo could be in some trouble in this division.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd love to know is how much the Bills loved Keon Coleman, because this is a team that traded back from 28 to 32, traded back from 32 to 33, and from 28 to 32, 3 of the 5 picks were receivers. Any of them could have taken Keon Coleman. So if they really loved him, you think they would have just taken him at 28 instead of risking that he might not be gone, because we saw Worthy go to the Chiefs, obviously at 28, the trade that blew everyone's minds. Ricky Pearsall going to the 49ers at 31, and Leggett going to the Panthers at 32. So it's just interesting how that all fell together. As you said, Tyler, there's a lot of pressure on him, not just to pick up the load here, but that he is going to be facing top corners now, and that's not going to be easy.
I think you could even frame the question, are the Bills going to be a running team? Ooh. Like we talk about the Chargers. Like, what do you have at wide receiver? I mean, the Chargers have more at wide receiver than they have the same at wide receiver as the Bills do. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, like the Bills have the better last few years, but you added Harbaugh to the Chargers, and I'm more confident in that offense than I am the Bills, because we saw that, you know, once Ken Dorsey got fired and Joe Brady took over, they were a really, really run-heavy offense. They added Keon Coleman in the second round, but Ray Davis is a big-time runner at Kentucky. They bring him into the fourth round, and they add Frank Gore Jr., and you already have James Cook and Ty Johnson and Darrington Evans. I think this is a team that's going to try to pound the ball a ton, and I don't know, man. I mean, that's cool, but you got Josh Allen, who's got a rocket arm.
And they signed Chase Claypool at receiver. Did we mention that?
We did not mention that.
Let's throw it in.
Oh, yeah. Chase Claypool. That guy. All right. The Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I was almost going to go Tua here. Just, you know, when does that contract get done, similar to Trevor Lawrence? But to me, I think one of the more pressing ones is just what's the status and when are Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips going to be ready to go? You had 2 of your star defensive players go down at the end of the year with season-ending injuries late in the year or mid to late in the year. So that sometimes can bleed in to the next following season. And I know that you got Chop Robinson in the first round and you're trying to cushion that blow. But if this team is going to go as far as they can, you need to have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips ready to go as soon as humanly possible to compete with Buffalo, to compete with New York. And if they're not, if this thing kind of lingers, I would have some concerns.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins actually made smart moves, and they played free agency in the draft like these guys might not be ready for week 1, because it wasn't just the fact that they drafted Chop Robinson. They also went out and signed Shaq Barrett, who, you know, he's not a little bit older, but I think he can fill in for Bradley Chubb until he gets healthy. So, you know, they have the safety net there. They have guys, as long as Chop Robinson looks good out there, they do have guys that can start over Phillips and Chubb while they're getting better. But obviously you want those two out there as soon as possible, because they make your defense so much better. But man, the Dolphins did do a good job of just building that safety net there in case those two aren't ready.
Yeah, and I think you got to wonder too, the Dolphins have traditionally under Mike McDaniel started really, really hot and then kind of cooled down. Is that is that something that's sort of schematically related? Is it weather related? Is it just, you know, sustainability related, whatever it is? But you know, you're not, if you don't have those guys early on, you know, tougher to start hot. So worth keeping an eye on for sure. The Jets.
Yeah, this is a good problem to have if you're the Jets, especially coming off of last year. But who's just going to start at your tackle positions? You signed Tyron Smith. You traded for Morgan Moses, which you thought that was just going to be the starting tackles for this team. But then you go and use the number 11 overall pick on Fashanu out of Penn State. And so I don't think that you put him on the bench to start his career. I think if he's ready to go, he's your young tackle. You probably start him. So I'm curious to see how that position battle shakes out over the course of camp.
Yeah. And look, if you're the Jets, I don't think you really care. You can't have enough tackles. You are thinking, all right, well, if Tyron Smith's body doesn't hold up for the entire season because he has trouble staying healthy, well, we have Shanu back there. If Morgan Moses, if something happens there, You just want to have protection for Aaron Rodgers. You saw what happened. We all saw what happened to him last season, and he's going to be going into 2024 with a repaired Achilles, and you don't want him taking a lot of hits, and you want to have as many tackles, as much tackle depth as possible. So, yeah, definitely a question about who will ultimately be the starter, but I do like what the Jets did by really taking care of the tackle position and upping the protection for Rodgers.
I think in a perfect world, yeah. So Morgan Moses is on a 1 year, $5.5 million deal at age 33. I think in a perfect world, Fashanu is so good in rookie mini camp, training camp, or OTAs, training camp, that you're forced to bench Moses, start because I don't think Tyron would play right tackle. I think his contract isn't that big either, I don't believe. But just I don't think he's ever played right tackle in his career. Yeah, I mean his contract is $2 million. I mean, if Fashanu is freaking awesome, one of these guys can get benched, and that's just going to be it. I would think it's more likely to be Moses, and then Moses is maybe your swing tackle. But you also might have a situation where Fashanu is incredible and looks like he can play guard. You brought in John Simpson, so I mean maybe that's not the case. But if you think you have. Like, I think Fashanu is going to be, they would love for him to steal a spot, basically, and they probably don't really care where it is, although I would assume it's probably not left tackle. Finally, the New England Patriots. Yeah, New England Patriots.
Yeah.
How will the world respond to the Tom Brady roast?
Will they let Ben Affleck back into New England after that horrible performance?
Man, what was that?
What a letdown.
It really was.
He's like, you're so mean to me about Justice League. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. It sucked.
I was so high on Affleck, too, after the Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
I was just going to say that, Breach. If he came out in the Dunk Kings jumpsuit, you already would have won. Like, it just would have been hilarious.
Wouldn't even have to say a word.
It's again neither here nor there, but that was not a great showing for the Patriots. The question is who's going to be their left tackle, because I think that this directly relates to when do you feel comfortable putting Drake May out as your week one, or as your starting quarterback, not necessarily week one. If they don't have their left tackle figured out, I don't want May anywhere near the football field in 2024. They signed a core 4 in free agency from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They drafted Caden Wallace at the draft, but there's really no clear answer at that position. And, Michael Wenu, people thought maybe he could make the switch from right to left. He said last week that he's a right tackle. So I don't think that doesn't sound like he's going to move. And so, I just wonder, you have this rookie quarterback. You saw the deterioration with Mac Jones over the last few years. If Drake May doesn't have time to throw the football and he's going to run like a chicken with his head cut off, you're not helping the kid. And so to me, you have to find out your left tackle before we even have the Drake May conversation.
Yeah, and if you start Caden Wallace, he's a 3rd-round pick. If you have a rookie 3rd-rounder as your starting left tackle in front of a rookie quarterback, that just seems like a disaster waiting to happen. As I think you've mentioned this a few times, Sully, that you can't put Drake May out there and set him up to fail, or you're just starting over at square one after next season, because there's no way he's going to succeed in a system where you don't have a good left tackle. And right now, we don't know if the Patriots have that. So that is a huge question for New England.